بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. This is our fifth session on jurisprudential rules. So far we managed to finish, alhamdulillah, قاعدة لا تعاد and also قاعدة al-Faraq or قاعدة al-Tajawuz. So today we want to discuss قاعدة أصالة الصحة. Sheikh al-Ansari rahmatullah alayh, in his Rasail, after studying Qa'idatul Faraq wa Qa'idatul Tajawuz, studied this Qa'idah, Asalatul Sihhah. But he is not the first person who has discussed this. Also his teacher, Sheikh al-Naraqi, also has discussed this. There are few points that we have to discuss about Asalatul Sihhah. First, what do we mean by this qaida? What is the meaning and definition of this qaida? Second, what is the difference between this qaida and qaidatul faraq? Third, what is the proof, the argument? Fourth, is it a condition for applying this rule that the person who has done something was aware about the requirements? For example, someone was washing something najis. Should we know that he knew the rules? Or if we don't know that he knew the rules, or if we know that he didn't know, so still we can apply this. Is this qaida applicable only when we have doubt about existence of obstacle, or it can be applied when we have doubt about muqtadi as well?
What do you mean by that?
For example, inshallah we will talk about it in details. For example, someone has sold something. You may have different types of doubt. Sometimes you doubt whether he owned what he sold. So the reason for doubting the validity of this transaction is whether he was able to sell. So muqtazi is question, whether he was able to sell. Or for example, sometimes the doubt is whether what was sold was something which was permissible to sell. Maybe he has sold something najis which has no permissibility to be sold. And sometimes, no, we know that he owned it and it was permissible, but we say maybe it had to be sold in a particular way and he didn't observe it. So there are different types. The question is qa'idatu asalat al-Sihhah applied regardless of what is the reason for doubting, or it's only in one particular type of doubt, and that is when you have doubt about obstacle? Means you know that he could sell it, you know that what he sold was okay. Just the way he conducted the selling is question. Inshallah, we'll talk about it in details. Another thing is that should we be sure that the action is done and we are just doubting whether it is done in a valid way or not, or even the action might be questionable. For example, someone you know that has recited khutbatul aqd. You go to an alim and you know that he recited khutbatul aqd, now you are in doubt whether this was done in a valid way, so you are married, or it's not done in a valid way, so you are not married. Asaalat al-Sihhah says you assume that it's done in a valid way. But if you have doubt whether he recited khutbatul aqd or not, he said something in Arabic, but was it khutbatul aqd or not? Or did he mean this or not? So sometimes you know the action is done, you wonder whether it is done in a valid or in an invalid way. Sometimes the very action is questioned. This is what we discuss, inshallah. Another thing, what should we do when validity requirements is different between the one who does the action and the one who wants to apply Asaalat al-Sihhah? For example, he recited khutbatul aqd and siqatul aqd. According to the one who recited, it didn't need to be Arabic. According to my marja, it has to be Arabic. Now I don't know whether he said in Arabic or not. According to my marja, if it was not in Arabic, it's not valid. So can I say Asaalat al-Sihhah says, don't worry, he has done it properly? Or I say no, because for him this was not needed. So maybe he didn't, bother saying it in Arabic because it was not necessary for him. So when there is a difference between the understanding of requirements or conditions between the doer, the agent, and the one who wants to apply Asaalat al-Sihhah, the observer, what should we do? And then there are some applications. So now let's start one by one. First, what do we mean by قاعدة أصالة الصحة في فعل المسلم? It's very clear, it's not very difficult. When someone has done something, someone other than you, and you don't know whether he did it or she did it properly or not, whether it was valid or not, which means whether the effects, the consequences of a valid performance would follow or not. For example, selling, buying, or reciting marriage, or for example, doing zabh, okay, washing dress which was najis, or washing a place which was najis. If he has done it in a valid way, now it has consequences. If it was not valid, it has other consequences. So our question is about validity and effectiveness of the action done by another Muslim. Okay? This is different from another thing, which is obvious, of course, but it's another thing, which we have in some hadith, that whenever a believer does something and you don't know whether it was haram or it was permissible, you should assume that he didn't do haram. Asaalat al-Sihhah fi fi'l al-Muslim, in another sense, that don't interpret what a Muslim has done in a bad way when it is between permissibility or prohibition. Do you understand? That's another point. For example, someone has gone to a place that they sell alcohol. and he drank something, but maybe he drank water, for example. You should not assume that certainly he drank haram. Yeah? Or, for example, you see a person, for example, is walking with a woman. Maybe this is his mahram, maybe it's not mahram. You should assume that it is mahram. Yeah? As long as there is a way to interpret it in a good way, don't interpret it in a bad way. Okay? So, this is asalat al-Sihhah fi fi'l al-Muslim, but this is another meaning. It is obvious, but this is not what we are discussing today. What we are discussing today is when a Muslim has done something and we have doubt whether it was done in a valid and sahih, as we say, or invalid, void way. This is our question. Is it clear? Second point, what's the difference between asalat al-Sihhah and qa'idat al-Faragh? I think one difference you can quickly understand. What's the difference? Yes.
One is the validity, and it has been done. And
qa'idat al-Faragh is the same.
No, that's the Java, sorry.
The one is when you're not sure whether you've done it, finished it or not. One is when you've done it or not.
Yeah.
No, you know you have done it.
Yeah. Second is about doing it correctly.
Both of them, we know that something has been done.
Or juz is you're unsure about the juz.
No.
It's for the method of the
No, that's another issue. Yes, juz is maybe we talk about. The very first difference is qa'idatul faragh is about yourself. After performing salat, you doubt. After doing, for example, tawaf, after fasting, after hajj, you doubt. It's qa'idatul faragh. But qa'idatu asalat al-Sihhah fi fi'l al-Muslim is not about you, it's about someone else. It's the first obvious difference. Okay? So qa'idatul faragh, the one who doubts and the one who acted are the same. In qa'idatu asalat al-Sihhah fi fi'l al-Muslim, the one who doubts is different from the one who acts. There's a big difference. Yes.
Another one for which this can only be, faragh is only after.
Yes.
Yeah. This can be during as well.
Yes. Yes. The second difference is qa'idatul faragh is when you doubt after finishing, after completion of the action. Qa'idatu asalat al-Sihhah can be even in the middle, and still you have to ignore. For example, a person is saying salat over a mayyit, over a dead body, salatul mayyit. And if one Muslim does salatul mayyit, one mu'min, Muslim, believer, then other believers don't need to do it. It's wajib kifaya. If you know that he has done it, you don't need to do it, even if you doubt whether it was valid or not. But even if it is in the middle of the prayer, you see, he is in the middle of prayer, in the middle of Salatul Mayyit, and you doubt. You can still say, Asaalat al-Sihhah fi fi'l al-Muslim. You assume that what he has done was okay, and the rest also will be okay. So in Qa'idatul Faragh, you only apply Qa'idatul Faragh after action is finished, but in Asalatul Sihhah, it can be whole action or part of the action which is done by another person. Yes?
No, why? What kind of doubt would it be when you know that the person is in the middle of the salah? What kind of doubt would it be?
So maybe he didn't recite, for example, properly the previous part. Maybe his niyyah was not okay. You can have lots of doubt. Okay? Or, for example, Imam al-Jama'at, you are saying your salat behind a person. In the second rak'ah, third rak'ah, you doubt whether he has wuzu or his recitation was okay or this type of things. So even if it is in the middle of his action, still you can apply asalat al-Sihhah fi fi'l al-Muslim. It doesn't need to be after he finishes the prayer. Some people have said a third difference between what? Asalat al-Sihhah, not asalat al-Faraq, qa'idat al-Faraq. Yes. The third difference, some people said qa'idat al-Faraq is only for wuzu and salat and some ibadat, for example. But asalat al-Sihhah can be also for mu'amalat. But as you remember, we didn't accept that qa'idatul faragh is only for ibadat. We said it is also for mu'amalat. So when you go to a shop and purchase something and then you come out after some time, you say, did I pay or I didn't pay? You doubt. You don't need to, doubt your action. You say, when I was doing the action, I was more conscious and more mindful than now. I might have forgotten. According to Sheikh Irwani, as we said before, qa'idatul faragh can be used even in mu'amalat. It's not only wuzu and salat, it's other ibadat like hajj, fasting, and mu'amalat. Not only wuzu and salat, and not only ibadat and mu'amalat.
That's why, Sheikh, many times mu'amalat is not only about you. It's between you and other partners.
Of course.
So,
what is your doubt about?
Did I pay him fully, or did I pay?
It's about yourself.
Yes.
So this is qa'idatul faragh.
But it is my dhimma towards him anyway.
This is qa'idatul faragh. So after finishing the mu'amala and you go home or you walk out, then you doubt. You ignore your doubt because of faragh. But if someone else has done something, have done this mu'amala, and you doubt, this is asalat al-Sihhah. So the third difference that some people have mentioned is not accepted. Some people wanted to say asalat al-Sihhah is for mu'amalat and ibadat, but qa'idat al-faragh is only for some ibadat or all ibadat. Only wuzu and salat or all ibadat, but not mu'amalat. We said no. We believe qa'idat al-faragh is for all mu'amalat and ibadat. Okay? So, which differences we accepted?
One is for you.
Faragh is for you, asalat is for someone else, and second,
faragh is at the end of the action, and as-Sihhah even during the
asalat al-Sihhah can be applied even in the middle of that person's action. Okay. Now, what is the proof? You have to have argument. What's the proof? Some people have mentioned some hadith and some verses of the Quran, but we have to see whether they really mean asalat al-Sihhah or it may mean something else. For example, some people have said this ayah in Surah Al-Hujurat, ayah number 12, is an argument for asalat al-Sihhah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم. O those who believe, avoid most of suspicion, because some of it is sin or sinful. Ithm is sin. They said, so when you have doubt whether someone has done something in a good way or made mistake, you have to avoid suspicion. But Sheikh Irwani says this might be more about the first meaning of Asaalat al-Sihhah, that whether what he did was bad or was permissible. This woman that, for example, he looked at her and touched her hand, hold her hand, maybe this is mahram. اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن. Don't say it was not his mahram. Maybe this drink that looks to be haram, maybe it's water. اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم. But whether his action is correct or not, it might not be a case of suspicion. So, of course, this is Sheikh Irwani. Maybe another person says, no, this is more general. It can be for both. At least it's not very clear that it includes, doubt about someone's action being valid or not. Then there is a hadith. إذا اتهم المؤمن أخاه. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. إذا اتهم المؤمن أخاه. When a believer accuses or charges his brother falsely with something. For example, says he has committed a sin, he has made a ghibah, he has made, haram. إن ماث الإيمان في قلبه كما ينماث الملح في الماء. In the same way that salt will be dissolved in water, his faith in his heart will also be dissolved. May Allah save us from this. Unfortunately, mu'mineen, although they don't commit some sins, but we have such type of sins, which is sometimes worse than the sins that other people do.
It's a very famous saying of Imam Ali, when somebody came to Prophet and he said he saw a man and a woman going inside the house very suspiciously, and you are the Prophet, and how can they do this haram? And then Prophet sent Imam Ali. Everybody was waiting that they might call him to go, but Prophet chose Imam Ali to go and see what was the truth behind it. And then when Imam Ali went into that, he knocked the door and he waited for 10 minutes. And then he shouted, "Is there anybody in there?" Then he left the door open because the guy who saw them, he locked the door from outside. And then he came back. And Prophet asked him, "What did you see?" And he said, "I went there, I shouted, I asked for somebody is there, and I didn't hear anything, I came back." And Prophet said, "You have done the best thing," which is what I was expecting.
Yes. You cannot invade, and
People's privacy.
yes, privacy. Yeah. Or we have hadith of Amirul Mu'mineen. ضع أمر أخيك على أحسنه. It's very beautiful. حتى يأتيك ما يغلبك منه. What your brother does or sister, doesn't make difference. What your brother in faith does, put it in the best possible, interpretation or assumption. Interpret it in the best way. Don't think in a bad way, negative way. Maybe, for example, he wanted to do haram, or he wanted to offend me, he wanted to damage me.
What's that?
Put. And this should continue until يَأْتِيَكَ مَا يَغْلِبُكَ مِنْ. Then something comes to you that completely changes the condition. So it means it's proved for you that he meant or did something bad. So as long as there is no proof, you should always assume that he did the best thing. He meant the best thing. Okay? So you should always be defending your brother and sister by interpreting what they do or say in the best way. وَلَا تَظُنَّنَّ بِكَلِمَةٍ خَرَجَتْ مِنْ أَخِيكَ سُوءًا وَأَنْتَ تَجِدُ لَهَا فِي الْخَيْرِ مَحْمِلًا. Do not think about a word which has come out of the mouth of your brother in a bad way, as long as you find a good interpretation for it. So, never rush in interpreting and taking it in a bad way. Okay? Even we have, for example, hadiths. There are many hadiths like this that even if many people come and swear, say, Wallahi, he did this or he said this against you, you should not accept. Give him credit of doubt. Give him chance to defend himself. So, these are some hadiths, and that also ayah, اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن, that some people have mentioned. But the author says we have difficulty in understanding قاعدة اصاله الصحه from these texts. These texts seem to be not about someone who has done something and we don't know whether it was valid or not. This is about someone that maybe said something haram, did something wrong, or something mubah. Do you understand? The doubt is not about sahih and fasid. It's not about valid and invalid. The doubt is about haram and mubah. Is it clear? So, then what's the argument? What's the proof? He says the best proof seems to be as-siratul uqala'iyyah and siratul mutasharra'ah. Okay, now, what's the difference between siratul uqala'iyyah and siratul mutasharra'ah?
Rational people is Salah.
Siratul uqala'iyyah means what is the practice, the conduct, the habit of rational people. Siratul mutasharra'ah means what is the habit or norm among the religious people. Mutasharra'ah. Mutasharra'ah means
People who follow the Sharia.
Means al-mutasharra' is one person. Mutasharra'ah means people who are religious, who are mutasharra'. Means they know Sharia and they act according to Sharia. So there are two ways. One is to say this is Siratul Uqala. One is to say Siratul Mutasharra'. Siratul Uqala means even people who are not religious, people who are not Muslims, people of other religions or people of no religion, what do they do in their life when they have to deal with someone else's action? Do they keep doubting and then making life for themselves and for other people miserable? Or they assume that everyone is doing his job properly unless it is proved otherwise? Yeah, Uqala, they assume everything is doing his job properly. Yeah? If you are a pilot and you want to, fly, you assume the technicians have done their job properly. Otherwise, you cannot fly.
Yes.
If you want to take a train, you assume that this train is well maintained and repaired, and everything is okay. Otherwise, you cannot function. So, this is Siratul Uqala, and for sure, this Siratul Uqala is not something new. If it was something new, then it has no religious significance.
Indeed.
But if you can prove that this Siratul Uqala was in the time of Ma'sumin, and they didn't ban, they didn't object, they didn't question, then we can also follow it. Because anything that Uqala do and is not religiously banned, we can also do. So, do you accept this is Siratul Uqala? Yes. Do you accept that this is not new and it was from before? Yes. Is there any ban on this? No. So we can also do the same. But Siratul Mutasharra'ah means if you can establish that this is what religious people have done, then you don't need even to look for whether it is banned or not. Because if something Mutasharra are doing, it means it is inspired by Sharia. If no one else is doing and only Mutasharra are doing. So either you say Sira Uqala or you say that Mutasharra as Mutasharra, they do it. Means because they have learned generation by generation that this is the way they should function. So he says, we don't have any specific ayah or hadith that we can say that's the main proof. The main proof is Siratul Uqala or Siratul Mutasharra.
First, I think Quran also is, I think you say the whole Quran is based on racial judgment.
Of course. No, we are not talking about the whole Quran. We are talking about this Asaalat, al-Sihhah, this Qa'idah. Yeah. Another question. As we said in the beginning, one of the questions here is it a condition for Asaalat al-Sihhah that the person who did something, and now we want to correct his action and say it's valid, is it a condition that he should have known all the masail about it and what is needed, what is required or not? For example, you say his zeb, I assume, was correct. The butcher, I want to buy meat from him. Should I assume that he knew, or I cannot assume? I have to establish, I have to make sure that he's aware of these things. I ask him a few questions, to make sure that he knows the masail. Or for example, if I know that he knew, or I have doubt, is okay. But if I know that he didn't know, there's a person that I know he doesn't know. And if he does something correctly, it's by chance. Okay? So these are all different possibilities. So, هل يشترط العلم بالصحة والفساد? Is it required that the person is aware about what is valid, what is corrupt, means invalid, void? The person who did, not the person who is applying Asaalat to the person who did it, the one who washed najas. Should I know that he knew how to make something najas clean or not? So, there are three options. First, sometimes we know that he knew. It's the same person that together we took lessons on fiqh, and I know that he knows how to wash. He's my roommate, and we took these lessons on ahkam, and we had mubahisa, and I know, or it's my mother, my husband, my wife, I know that they know the rules. Okay? So, this is one type. For sure here, there's no problem. I am aware that he knew. Option 2, we know that he didn't know. Because this is a person that we were roommates or classmates, and I know that he didn't learn anything. I have enough experience to know that he doesn't know. He's a very crazy person. He didn't learn anything. So here I cannot apply asalat al-Sihhah. Yeah. I ask him, how do you, for example, wash mayyat? He doesn't know. He thinks that it's just like giving a bath. So I know that he didn't know. So here also it's clear. So if I know that he knew clearly, it's okay. We apply asalat al-Sihhah. If I know that he didn't know clearly, we cannot. If I don't know whether he knew or not. Okay? الشك في تمييزه بين الصحيح والفاسد. So here we say it seems that we can apply asalat al-Sihhah, because actually most of the time we deal with the people that we don't know that much about them. And we go to butchery, we go, for example, to different places. We deal with people that we don't know them. We know their moment, they're believers, but we don't know what is their background. So, therefore, whether you know that he knew or you doubt, you can apply asalat al-Sihhah. But if you know that he didn't know, you cannot. Another question. What type of doubt about validity can be solved, can be treated with asalat al-Sihhah? In the beginning, we said, sometimes a person sells something and we don't know whether he is owner or not. This is one type of doubt. Especially people who don't have shop. For example, someone is on the street selling watch, and sometimes they have good price, but you don't know whether they own this watch or it's a stolen.
Too good to be true, the price.
Yeah. So there is no sign of being a stolen, but there is a doubt. Okay? So this is one type of doubt. So this is about a person being owner or not. Sometimes the doubt is in what is sold. For example, is it the person, for example, says, I sold something and he has some money, but we don't know whether he sold something haram, something najis or not. Is this, for example, vinegar, or this is wine, or what is it selling? So here the doubt is in what is sold. Sometimes doubt is in the way it is done, not in the seller, not in what is sold, in the way it is sold. For example, did he say the formula of buying and selling in Arabic or not? And suppose for you, Arabic is important. Did he use fi'l mazi, past tense or not? For example, bi'tu, ishtaraitu, or he said abi'u. Abi'u doesn't work, that it has to be fi'l mazi. Zawajtu, qabiltu. So, okay? So sometimes doubt is about condition. Was it in Arabic? Was it in past tense or not?
Sorry, Sheikh. Today, many times when you buy something, nobody say to you, okay, I bet to.
Yes, yes. That's the
Take the.
That's the problem. Therefore, we say this bay is now mu'atat. This is not really bay. This is mu'atat, a kind of exchange. Yes. So, In the first, الشك في قابلية الفاعل, about whether he's owner or not. Second, الشك في قابلية المورد, what is sold is halal or not. And the third is shak about shurut and mawane, conditions and obstacles. According to Sheikh Ansari and some ulama, in all these cases we can do asalat al-Sihhah. According to Sheikh Irwani, he has doubt about the first and the second, whether this person is the owner or not, and whether what is sold is, something that can be sold or not. But I think Sheikh Ansari's view seems stronger, because I cannot question someone who's selling something and say, maybe you are not the owner. Yeah, we assume that he's the owner. He has the right to sell. Of course, we have also another qa'idah, and we say that qa'idah, when someone has something in his hand, we assume that he has authority over it. Yeah, you cannot question people and say, maybe you are a thief and you are a... The next point, does it require to know that the action is done and now you only doubt validity, or even you may doubt the action? As I told you, someone has recited Sighi Aqd for you and your wife, but you don't know whether it was valid or not. This is definitely a possible case for Asaalat. But sometimes you say he said something in Arabic, I didn't understand. Was it Sighatul Aqd or not? So the whole action is in question, not its validity. Okay? So it seems that if you really don't know that he has done or not, then you cannot assume Asaalat. But if he tells you that I have done it, then you assume it's okay. Okay? So if he says, I have done it, you don't doubt it. Or for example, if you have hired someone to do, for example, Hajj for your late father, if you know he has done Hajj and you have doubt validity, you assume it's valid. If you don't know he has done Hajj, you cannot say it's valid. But if he tells you that I have done Hajj, then you assume. Because we have also a rule which we say, Man malaka shay'an malaka al-iqrara bihi. Whoever is in charge of something, he can admit, and his admission is accepted. Okay? So, if he says I have done it, we accept. But if you don't know he has done it or not, you cannot say I use Asaalat al-Sihhah to say he has done it. Yeah? And then it remains whether validity according to the doer is important or validity according to the observer. And what happens if they have different opinions? One follows a marja that, for example, says it has to be recited in Arabic. The other one says it doesn't need to be recited in Arabic. So this is also something that we have to discuss. Inshallah, we can discuss this in the next session. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.